Well, good evening. Looks like it's just about 7 o'clock, so I'd like to call the Plan Commission meeting to order for October 22nd. The first order of business is a roll call. Would you call the roll, please, Mr. Spangler?
Elam. Farrell. Here. Keach. Knepp.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Ritterbusch.
Here.
Smock.
Here.
Westlake.
Here.
Zobrist.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes, which were distributed on the back side of the agenda. Does anyone have any questions or comments or corrections to the minutes of the last meeting of September 24th? Hearing no one wishing to speak, I'd ask for a motion that they be approved.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second that the minutes of the last meeting be approved. Any further discussion? If not,
Mr. Farrell, was that you that made the second?
It is.
is there a question?
I wasn't sure who made the second.
Okay.
I've got it.
Just put me down for all of them, Roger. I'll keep this thing moving.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved as they were published. The next order of business are the public hearing session for tonight. I would ask our attorney to give a brief explanation of the process of the public hearing.
Thank you. Public hearings are being held tonight pursuant to published notice. Any person wishing to address the Plan Commission will be afforded an opportunity to do so. If you wish to address the Plan Commission, you'll be sworn in by our court reporter, and any testimony you give will be under oath or affirmation. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the Plan Commission will make a recommendation to the Village Board. The Plan Commission makes recommendations only as opposed to final action.
Thank you. The first petition tonight is number 12-05, a special use permit. Tracy Lockenauer seeks a special use permit for the operation of a daycare facility / educational center at 260 East Queenwood Road. This is currently zoned R2. So I ask if there's someone here to speak to this petition tonight. Tracy, are you here? Would you be sworn in by the clerk?
Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you proceed to the podium, the microphone, so we can get it all recorded? Would you like to give us a little discussion on your request?
Sure. My name is Tracy Lockenauer, and I'm currently residing in Danvers, which is actually, it's a Danvers address, but it's Mackinac Schools, so it's really just outside of Mackinac. We currently own a child care center in Mackinac that's been open for 10 years this November. Our facility is licensed for 103 children, so it's a smaller size than what we're asking for here. But we are currently wanting to expand our services to come into Morton. Currently, our facility is funded by the Illinois State Board of Education. We are an early childhood center. We're not necessarily what you would always be accustomed to as far as a daycare center. Our facility has highly certified teachers. All of them have a teaching certificate, either a type 04 or a type 03 from the state of Illinois. And we're considered a school, so, but a private school as well. Our facility would handle, in Morton, it would handle children 6 weeks to 12 years old. We are asking for a special use permit because this building that we are currently proposing to purchase is currently, I believe, zoned for a church, some type of a special use. I'm sorry, I'm not very familiar with that. But we're asking for it to be zoned special use for a daycare. We intend to use the entire area for a playground and that type of at this moment. I'm not sure if that will continue, if we'll just use the entire 4.5 acres of that lot. But right now it's ideal to have such a large area for the children for playing and for being outside, especially during the summer when we intend to have summer camp and be able to put up shelters and things that the children can be outside and have lots of activities going on. This facility would be licensed to handle 187 children. And there are currently 3 daycare centers that are licensed through Department of Children and Family Services in Morton. Our center is not intended to be competition for those. So I just want to let you know that I don't think it's good for any town to try and run a business out of town. This will be servicing a completely different clientele than the current centers you have. Our facility, as I said, it will be an early childhood center, so we will be working with the Illinois State Board of Education and the learning standards that are put forth for children 0 to 3rd grade. We have relationships with our local schools, and we'll be working closely with them as well as offering tutoring programs. But at the same time, our programs, while we're offering an educational facility, we're also offering child care services. So while the children are in classrooms receiving child care, they're also learning. Our motto for this facility is where learning meets play, and the whole premise of it is that children who are playing should also be learning at the exact same time. And the best way that we teach children is to work through their senses. So we start early at 6 weeks old, and we're working with the children on the things that they hear, their sounds, their environments, the nurturing. All of it goes together to build children up so that they can be successful in school. So we see that as a definite plus for Morton to have a facility like ours. Let's see. In the Morton area, you have over 1,900 children under the age of 10. Our facility, like I said, will service children 6 weeks to 12 years. And currently, with your current licensed child care facilities, there are 291 child care slots available for those 1,900 children, which shows that there's quite a market shortfall in the town. A good close to 18 to 23% of the current facility have state assistance through the state's child care connection, which gives parents who are, maybe they're single moms or they're having difficulty financially, maybe they're lower income, it gives them some assistance for the cost of their child care. But typically those facilities are lower, I don't want to say anything offensive, they're lower income, I guess, more than what we're looking for. The type of parents that we're targeting are families that are making over $100,000. This facility is not a facility that can be handled by state assistance because it is to have teachers that are highly certified. They make much better salaries than typically in a normal daycare center. So our facility will be one that offers a numerous services. We will have, like I said, childcare. We'll have tutoring. We'll have before and after school. We'll have summer camp. We will also have a babysitting service, a second shift childcare center. So we will be open in the evenings until 12 o'clock. Actually, I believe it'll be 12:30 usually by the time parents get their children picked up and they're on second shift. It will be 12:30. This will be the second facility in the 9-county area that offers second shift care. There is only one other center on the other side of Peoria. That's the Early Learning Center. So this facility will have a lot of different opportunities for parents to utilize our services. We also know that Morton has a high number of parents who stay at home, and that's actually excellent for our facility because our facility will have a program called Flex Care. And what that means is that if a parent stays at home and maybe the mom wants to go get groceries and she wants to give her child some time for socializing with other children, she can call and see if we have an opening, and if we do, she can use that facility. So her child can spend 3 hours once a week in the facility. He can come 3 times a week if she wants him to. So that's something that parents don't have to necessarily have their child always in a facility, always signed up, but it gives parents the ability to still have a little bit of time where their child can be in a fun setting, but also they can get things done. And then in the evenings, as I said, we'll have a babysitting service. So during our second shift care, parents in your town and in your community will be able to call and see if, as long as their child is pre-registered, if we have an opening and they can bring their children. So if you have little ones, you'd be able to go out on dates. So any questions? Is there anything I didn't cover?
Well, thank you very much for your nice presentation. I'm sure that people that watch this on television will certainly have a good opportunity to learn a lot about you, so that's great. Any questions from any of the board members?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Do you intend to provide transportation for the children at some point?
For school-age children, there will be transportation. We are planning to purchase another bus. My facility currently does provide transportation for children in Mackinac to come to our center, and we will be planning to do the same thing for school-age children as well.
And if your request was granted, do you intend to make any improvements to the property? Are any required, such as fences and things
Yes,
like that?
sir. We're planning to gut the building. We'll be redoing it completely, including the outside of the building. We'll have some changes to it to make it look really nice for the community. We want it to be attractive and inviting when people come and see the building, as well as it'll have a high-scale playground, spray gardens. It'll be fabulous. So I didn't bring plans. We're in the process of working with an architect for that, but until I pay him, he's probably not going to give me my prints.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Does the building have to be sprinkled? Do you know?
Yes, sir, it will be sprinkled. It will also have an elevator in it, so we will be completely ADA,
Okay,
handicap accessible.
all right.
Regarding the transportation, is there sufficient parking and, I don't know if this is a question for you or just my thought, is there any concerns about traffic flow? And if there are buses, is there ample room for them to turn around and park? And
If I might, I'll give you just an overview of what we're planning right now. This is, like I said, we're at the high end of this, so until we know that we have a special use and that all the financing and everything goes through, I'm not committing 100% to everything, but our intention is to move the parking from this side over to here, and it would be on this area. There is a swell that runs through here, so it'd be easier to put drainage underneath the parking lot than it will be to have it running through the playground where children will have areas where they can trip and fall and have different, it's just difficult to drain that. As well as we like this area in the back, it's very closed off, and then they can have their playground all through this back area as well. And so there's going to be plenty of parking on that side where we can be able to use, have a protected area for the playground. We want it to be visible from the park, from the road, that people would be able to see the playground and be able to see that area, but we also want it to be very protected and away from traffic. So our intention, like I said, is to move the parking lot to the other side of the building. But there will be enough parking for code as well as for
well, yeah, and if you
different-
move it, the bus flow would probably be better for
Yes.
dropping off or vans or whatever you're going to use to
Right,
transport.
exactly.
I had a couple more questions if I could.
Okay.
Is there a name for the facility or for the business at this point?
Yes, sir, it's Learning Connections, where learning meets play.
Learning Connections. And so it's a secular purpose, there's not a religious purpose to it as well?
No,
or-
sir, there's not. It will be a Christian facility, as the one that I have currently is a Christian facility.
Okay.
We teach Christian principles and Christian morals, and we celebrate all Christian holidays. The children pray before snacks and meals, but we do not teach Bible lessons on a daily basis. But it's allowed. If a teacher wants to share a song or do something like that, they certainly are able to do that. I do want to say that this building is across from Bethel Lutheran, and we will not be competing with them at all, nor do we have any intention of doing so. They offer part-day preschool and do a fabulous job. We will not be offering a separate part-day preschool program. So that is not, you have a lot of part-day preschool here, so our intention is not to be competing or to cause any trouble for any of your other businesses. In the kind of economy that we have, we don't need that right now. So I also want to tell you that we are intending to employ between 28 and 35 employees, and it could go even higher than that, but that's a conservative estimate for the number of employees that we would be hiring. We also offer full benefits, 401k, for our employees. They get health insurance, so.
I guess I couldn't think of a better use for that area, to be honest, from my point of view. I mean, I think it's perfect. I did have one question just for my curiosity. From being on the zoning board, we weren't allowed to grant variances for not homeowners or not business owners. Is this slightly different with a special use that, since it's not the business owner or the property owner, sorry?
Their agent has signed the application
Okay.
for the church agent, yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Any other questions?
No, but for full disclosure, just so the board understands, I have to abstain from voting. I actually have this for sale, so I have a fiduciary interest in it. So that's why I'll be backing off, but everything was applied for, and the church, who currently has a special use, has agreed to, and obviously submitted everything too, so they're in compliance with that.
We would love to be in Morton, so.
We would love to welcome you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion to approve this special use request?
Second.
Motion been made and second that the Plan Commission approve this special use request. Would you call the roll, please?
Farrell,
Abstain?
Yep.
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Westlake,
Yes.
Zobrist.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion is carried, and you have recorded the one abstention, correct? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate you listening.
Thank you very much for your presentation information, and we wish you the best of luck. This will then be forwarded to the village board at the next meeting, which will be first Monday in November, correct? Next
Yes,
village
yes.
board meeting?
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the public hearing is a continuation of the request for changes to municipal code section 10-5-3C and section 10-5-3-D. This deals with required lot area and width and required yard areas. Included with the announcement of this, the agenda of this meeting, there was a sheet that provided some text for possible R1 lot changes. Have all the Plan Commission members received that? Based on receiving that and reviewing it, let's start with asking for any questions or comments or items for discussion on that from the Plan Commission members. Anybody wish to raise a question? This was, you've had a chance to review it. Are there any points that you would like to raise?
We would be essentially making a motion to approve everything that's outlined in yellow on these notes, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So basically, we're adding an R1A and R1B to the current R1. R1A is a lot area of 8,000 square feet. R1B is a lot area of 6,500 square feet. And then when you get to the lower part of the sheet, we're talking about the side yards, and the dimensional changes there would be that the minimum would be 6 feet side yard in both the R1A and the R1B.
If I remember correctly, the original request was to bring the lot width down to 65 feet. Did we,
We addressed that. It's in there.
I know, did we decide to make an additional one to 60 because we foresee that there's market demand for that? Or, because was that part of the original request to have, to go all the way down to 60?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I was confused by that too, because we talked about reducing the frontage, but then making the requirement larger at 8,000. But then R1B kind of goes the opposite direction. it reduces the front and also reduces the total, the minimum square footage.
Yeah, that's the highest density one.
Right. And that one has a limitation of no more than 30% of the lots in a development could have the reduced area of 6,500 square feet.
I guess I'm kind of like with Kara, I don't recall discussing that, but
I mean, they've indicated that there's a need to go down to 65. So I think that's one part of a discussion, and then I would just like to hear more about the case for why we feel we need to also go down to 60.
Well, I think there was some discussion at the last meeting that some of the other municipalities around
yeah.
here had a smaller width.
Yeah, and I do, because I think I wrote down Washington 65, East Peoria is 60, and Peoria is 40, and Metamora is 65. So that would be bringing us in with East Peoria and Peoria.
Right, that was the idea, is to give another option there for some developers if they felt that in a subdivision they could utilize a smaller lot size as well. But we go to a larger size and a smaller size from our current R1, which is 7,500 square feet.
Right.
Any other?
There's I think we probably need to add something for corner lots. Or would we let a corner lot go to a 65-foot width?
No, the corner lot,
Or would the corner lot stay at the 95?
95.
well, as a matter of procedure, if we approve something like R1A, what would the process be then for the developer? Would they have to then apply for new zoning under that? And I mean, that's the second step. They would
The
have to
zoning
go through.
stays the same, is my understanding. It just becomes sort of subsections of R1. The intent here was so that the entire map doesn't have to be kind of rewritten, but the developer would still have to submit a plan. And the key to it then is the 30%. You know, we talked last time about how do we protect home values, how do we protect the nice homes that we're used to here. The 30% was a way, and by the way, that number was, a lot of this stuff was come to just to try to get it on this table so we could discuss. But the 30% seemed to be a logical and reasonable number, so that if a developer is trying to create a planned development with some higher density, utilizing some of these alternative widths, that they would have to do so in a way that the entire development is not harmed by these types of homes. So that 30% then becomes sort of okay, there's going to be some high density, so if there are some irregular lots or there are some areas within the development that could use this, then it goes into play. But otherwise, it's still an R1. So the rest of the development really has to still adhere to the higher standards that we typically find here in Morton.
Specifically, though, for the Fieldstone subdivision, they would have to re-request to be modified to be an
that's what I'm
R1A or R1B.
Fieldstone, I think, as long as they could show 30%, if they have these higher density lots, and really for Fieldstone, this doesn't really apply too much
Well,
to
because they
Fieldstone.
Fieldstone, I think all of these, I don't think any of these are less than 65 feet in width.
There's some 40s in there. There's a 43.
There's a couple angled
250
lots that are
too.
57, but I would guess at the
Well,
setback
I
is where
think
they have to
it's
be
the- yeah,
That's the
65.
setback's
building
issue.
line, yes.
Right,
So you can't just read the frontage on the street. Go
correct.
back to
For
the
the,
building
for
line.
the angled lots and stuff like that. So I think most of these are already at the 65, but I guess what I'm saying is if we were to approve this and they were to come back, my guess is that this would be all rezoned to R1A, but there wouldn't necessarily be,
That's probably correct.
Any
I'm sure they're
R1Bs
going
on
to use, yeah. The intention here was to try to protect the with allowing some sort of a change for future development, but without putting us in a position where we inadvertently invite someone who's looking to exploit high density development.
so I guess I go back to if this issue was brought from Armstrong and for Fieldstone, and if nothing that they need is R1B, is it more logical at this time to approve an R1A and table the R1B discussion until there's a need for that?
I agree with that.
Well, that would be one approach, or if you want to make it so that it's open to other developers, that they would be able to look at Morton as an opportunity for doing a variety of different things. That was one of the thoughts by not just putting in the 1A just
Okay.
to satisfy the current question that had been raised, but to look to the future and say that in the future, based upon, again, what some of the other villages around the area have done, to try and give something to a developer so they could take a look at it and see if they want to stay with the R1, or they could use the R1A, but if they go to the R1B, there's a limitation on a percentage number of the total.
One of the concerns we talked about at our last meeting was density, and their plan actually decreased the density, and R1A would pretty much do that or keep it very much the same.
Right.
That's not the case for R1B, and so that's the concern I'd have with R1B, is it would greatly increase the density.
Without going through and adding up, do you know about the percentage that falls into that R1A that you would be adding just in the new section? Is it 5%, 10%? I know it's pretty small, but
For the R1A, it's almost all of them.
It's all
It would all, because
that's
they're
right,
all
'cause it's
going
less
down to
than
the
70,
68-foot
that's right, sorry.
width, so that way they have the longer backyards,
Yeah.
the deeper backyards.
Right.
But I think they all fall, almost all of them fall into the R1A. I guess my thing is, does anyone know, I didn't write down what Dunlap's minimum requirement is. I have a hard time saying I want to do this because other municipalities do this when it's Peoria and East Peoria that do it, where Washington and Metamora are still at the 65 minimum.
Washington actually has 30-some foot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Washington
They're
has
way
Oh,
small.
they do.
very, very small ones.
They have
Dunlap's
what's called patio homes, and they're maybe like, I think it is 30-some feet, 37 and a half feet. They're-
Well, I don't want that one.
They're pretty big.
Okay.
City of Peoria has a minimum of 40, City
Yeah.
of Washington, yeah, you've got that.
I have Peoria at 40. I did have Washington at 65, but I might have miswritten that down. And then I had East Peoria sitting at 60 and 6,000.
Yeah, and Metamora is 65. I don't know if we had any information on Dunlap.
I had Metamora at 65 and 7,000 square feet for the lot size.
7,800. 7,800 for Metamora lot
Oh,
size.
7,800 lot size.
And East Peoria is 6,000 square feet. Washington is 6,500. And Peoria was 6,000. Any other discussion from the members? So I guess the question is, do we just deal with the 1A part of it, which would be for the current question, or do you want to go beyond that and look at the future and see if there's an opportunity on some of the other parcels of land where a layout a little different would put in some 60-foot width at the building line and a smaller lot size?
My preference would be to remove the R1B, because, I mean, I would have to vote no right away if we considered that, but the other one I would, at least put in some kind of consideration for it, because we need to have, I think, a lot more discussion on the R1B before we haven't had hardly any discussion on that.
Okay. Would you want to put that into a motion then, that we remove the R1B from this proposal? That way we can vote on it and we can proceed.
I don't want to go that far yet, because I'm not sure we want to vote on it yet, but I just wanted to throw out my
I'll
opinion
motion
on
to
the-
remove the R1B if you want.
Okay, a motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second that we remove the R1B from the sheet that you have before you, and that would be up in the section C. It would also be then point number 7, point number 8, and point number 9 in the remaining part of the proposal. Any further discussion? Motion's been made and second. Is there any further discussion?
I guess I have one comment before we vote. We've had previous discussions about, I remember having discussions with Bob Reed about the flow of traffic and how Morton has designed different neighborhoods to decrease the number and the speed in residential areas, so that we have purposely cut off areas. and I brought this up to the developers during our last meeting, is that it felt like we went away from having more of that cut-off subdivision to having more of a straight line run through there. And I'm wondering what we could do, or have we thought about what to do to reduce the speed going down these subdivisions? Because before, the view before, it was more cut off, I guess. But do we want to put anything into place where we have these long runs that you put in a speed bump, or something like that that would deter that turning from a 35 to a 40? Just throwing it out there. I mean, I'm not saying that that's something we have to do, or that it should be something that maybe stops this vote, but more of throwing it out there as something, do we need to address it, or is everybody okay with us?
I don't think our Public Works Department's gonna want speed bumps.
Okay.
Just for maintenance and snow plowing and that kind of thing. I don't,
Yeah, just to talk about your point, like you're saying, that cutoff street that goes from Jefferson to Jackson, on the original plan, you're looking at 29 houses, and on the new one, you're looking at 32 houses. So you are slightly increasing how many people live there, which therefore would increase the traffic. Although I don't know if 29 to 32 for that span of a road is that significant from the original plan. But I do agree, the original, there's a pretty long street there.
Yeah, and it's much more. I mean, it's not so much. There's I think one street or two streets that remain the same, but it was just. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah, but I also think that's a second issue, right? Because for them to go to this needs to be approved,
Right.
right?
you're not approving that.
Right, you're
Okay.
approving the idea. This is just a proposal that then when this came back,
Okay.
maybe there would be discussion about
Gotcha.
different.
When the
street
developer
plans.
submits their plans, they'll submit a concept.
We can
for
talk
the
about it then.
entire subdivision, at which time like Craig, our Public Works Director, village engineer, would be looking at those types of things.
Okay. Fair enough.
Part of
site plan review.
Okay.
But you're right, though, the smaller lots will increase the density on a road,
Yeah.
right, which,
But the depth decreases it back. In fact, I can't recall from last meeting, how many properties fewer did this plan have than the original? 7 properties fewer. So actually, the density goes down in that sense. There might be more houses in a row, but they're deeper, so the total land density.
Right.
yeah,
We
your
have-
side streets are gonna be less
You have
houses
shorter,
then.
you have a shorter street for the same amount of houses, but the distance back to back is greater. So the density changes. Okay, we've had the motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Not, I'd ask that the roll be called.
Okay, this is to remove the R1B.
R1B.
Knapp,
Yes,
Ryan,
Yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes,
Westlake,
Yes.
Zobrist,
Yes.
Farrell.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. This will then be reworked to remove all of the R1B, and that will be redrafted then and presented to the village board at the first meeting in November. Thank you very much. That concludes the public.
Before you, I would actually just procedurally prefer a second vote to approve the proposal as amended. Because I understood, and maybe I misunderstood the last motion, I understood it to be to remove the B from the proposal. It was intended to also approve the 1A.
I guess, well, I was thinking that was the motion was to remove that and then approve this.
And if that was the intent of the board, then maybe we could just
You just made a
revise the
motion to
wording for the
remove
minutes.
1B though, didn't you?
Right. Just to remove one B.
but
Well, I'll make
I'm
a
not
motion
opposed,
to
I mean-
approve 1A.
I second.
Procedure
I feel like
followed.
we're playing chess.
Okay, so we have a new motion that we approve this with the 1B removes and includes the 1A.
Right.
And there's a motion been made and second.
I'll second.
Did you get that, Roger?
Who made the motion? Justin. And Phil's a second?
Yes.
Would you call the roll again?
I will. Ryan,
Because we're increasing the square footage to 8,000 versus today at 7,500, I'll say yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
yes,
Westlake,
Yes.
Zobrist,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Okay. Motion has been approved. That concludes the public hearing portion of the meeting this evening. Next order of business is any other business? Don't know of any, so the next order of business is from Roger Spangler.
I just a question for clarity. So your intent is we will rewrite this. Tom Davies will put it into ordinance form.
Right. With the 1B, all the 1B
All of
material
1B.
removed. Just the 1A. So it'll be
Yeah.
R1 and R1A, 7,500 square feet, 8,000 square feet.
Okay.
And
then is that the recommendation that would go then to the village board?
That's the recommendation, right, that's-
We're passing it on. I just making sure.
that was the
Okay.
the second motion.
Okay.
Is what passes this on to the village board now in the new form.
I'm good with it.
Okay?
And that's all I have.
Mr. Newhouse?
Are you going to mention the East Peoria?
Yes, we, about 2 weeks ago, they had that citizen planner workshop, of which Gerald attended, as well as Laura Elam. Gerald, you could probably speak to it about as well as I could. I left before it got done because I had another meeting to go to, but I thought it was pretty informative.
It
Had
was-
pretty good speakers.
Yes, it was real good. I mean, it was, basically, they gave the description of what has gone on in the town of Normal, because the planner from the village, or city of Normal was there and gave a nice presentation. Now, I did pick up a copy of the presentation. It might be good. We can make copies of that. I didn't bring it along tonight, but I'll drop it off at your
Okay.
office. But I think you left before you got.
Yeah, I didn't get, they were going to hand that out at the end. and I
And
didn't.
you didn't get your certificate of completion either. So.
I'm a slacker.
And so what I'll do, it was a nice presentation. I think most of us are pretty familiar with it, but I think it's nice to show the process of planning and zoning. And so if the members would like to see that presentation, I'll drop it off at your office. You can mail it out with the agenda for the next meeting. Say it's not time sensitive. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
something to put in your file. So I'll get it in your office, and then you can put it with the minutes of the meeting and the agenda for the next meeting. But it was a good presentation, and I'd encourage, I guess this was the second time they've done this, so I assume that there will be a third time. There were quite a few people from East Peoria, Washington, Pekin, were all there. So I'd encourage you the next time that this is held to try and schedule it. It's from like 4.
Not tonight.
We even had a sandwich and something to drink, so it was a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Don't go wrong.
As a compliment, I guess, to you, the Planning Commission, or to the Zoning Board of Appeals, usually when I go to something like that, I'm sitting there as I hear what they do elsewhere and how the process works or doesn't work, whatever the case might be. I usually sit there and I think that, we're doing some things right. I usually go away with a good feeling about, how we're conducting our business, and that's thanks to you people, so.
Okay, anything else?
No, not for me, other than to say, I really appreciate the amount of care that's gone into this discussion on the lot sizes. I know there's a lot of sentiment around town. No one has showed up to testify, but I have had emails and had conversations with people, and I know there's some concern about it. I think there's been good work here, and it really gives us something that I think we can take to the village board. It's a bit of a change for Morton. It's going to be scrutinized very carefully, but I think it's had very good attention from the Plan Commission, and we all appreciate it, especially for those of you who put in the extra effort, work with Roger and Tom. So thank you.
Next order of business is to adjourn. Is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.